Welcome everyone to another Social Web Cafe TV interview. Today we have Dan Morris from lettersfromdan.com. Dan, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
Let's start out by having you tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first let me say that I think that your background and everything is just cool. This is like the coolest looking show I've been on. So.
Oh wow, I'm so impressed. Are you trying to make points? Because if you are, you just did.
I'm just saying it's cool. It's not someone in their bathroom. It's like professional awesomeness. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Although I do like, if you want to share it, what you're talking about before we start here as far as adding color and that kind of ad lib element when you're stuck in a different location than what you expected and the way you're able to add color.
I am totally in a different place. I'm not even sure where I am. I'm in someone else's house, and I needed to stop because I couldn't get to where I was going. So here I am in a house that has 10 ceilings. It's like 20-foot ceilings. It echoes a little bit, which I'm sorry about. I broke one of my lights as I was walking in, which I was not excited about because those bulbs are really expensive. And then this is the only corner of the house that looked reasonable for a background, but it just didn't have any color, so I've been swiping colorful books from around the house, and there they are.
Excellent. I love that. See, guys, even when you're faced with a situation that you don't expect, you can ad lib and create something. Excellent, Dan.
So, and they're not even bad books. Good to Great and something by Chris Brogan. Yeah, I was like, wow, all right, this is good.
That works. That works.
So I call myself a niche strategist because I've never really figured out, like, what I do doesn't really fit normal society in terms of, like, I'm not the VP of operations and I'm not an internet marketer because I always think that's a little bit spammy name. So anyway, I'm a niche strategist. I help people figure out how to, I don't want to say dominate, but how to prosper in their niche using mostly online tools. We do some offline tools, but most of the time I really want to track pretty much everything that we do. So I use as much online as I can because I can pretty much track everything. And we use tools like Infusionsoft, so I can actually track postcards and phone numbers and billboards too. But our whole goal is to figure out how do I help my client turn this pile of money into a much bigger pile of money, and track every single cent of it, so we know when we're using the money efficiently and when we're not. And sometimes that involves Pinterest, and sometimes it involves SEO, and sometimes it involves email marketing. It just depends on the path from no money to people spending money with them. We figure out what that path looks like for a future customer, and we try to grow that. So anyway, so that's what I do.
Excellent. So when you mention, as far as the niche marketing, you're really talking about a customized plan. Instead of saying, hey, here's my package, follow these steps and you'll succeed, you're looking at their brand, at their product, at their service, and seeing what works best for them.
I don't know how to do it any other way. I don't think that there is a one-size-fits-all approach. Although I will say within a niche, within a vertical, for instance, realtors, there are techniques that you can apply from one place to another that work pretty well. But otherwise, the problem with a blanket strategy is that it doesn't take into account the goals of the client themselves. So whether they're trying to build an exit strategy to sell their business, whether they want to be on the Oprah Winfrey Show someday, whether they're trying to write a book, I mean, what is it they're trying to get out of their business? How are they going to be happy? So if I don't align what's going to make them happy in the long term, then I don't really have a strategy. I'm just doing techniques that's making them money that may or not improve their life.
That's a really good point. That reminds me of a Twitter chat they did for a publishing company. And I'm thinking, okay, hey, let's broadcast, let's get a lot of people at Twitter chat. But they're actually only looking at, for instance, universities, professors, and so forth, and they don't necessarily want the masses. And it's like, it's so true that different companies and different brands have different objectives, and it's so important to define that first.
Yeah, I mean, my first question always is, what is it we're trying to do? Like, where are you trying to go with this? Do you eventually want to be hands-off? Is this a moneymaker? Is this going to be your primary business? Is this just a department? I mean, what are we trying to accomplish in the long term? And sometimes, people will say, well, I'd really like to write a book. And for me, that's a huge sign that my first question is, okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to write the loose outline of your book so I have an idea what your book is about. So then throughout all of our marketing strategies, we're going to start to fill in the different parts of your book while we're doing all this other stuff, so that when we're done, the book is basically written. But at least I have the template on the front end, so I have an idea of what we should try to be tackling, so that that content somehow comes through and we actually accomplish the goal of the book while we're doing other things.
That's excellent. That makes a lot of sense. Now, you have a Pinterest product, since we're talking about Pinterest as well today, a Pinterest product that was available a while ago, and Pinterest has made some updates. How long ago was that, like a few weeks or a month ago? Do you still have your Pinterest product available?
Yeah, it's makingmoneywithpinterest.com. I'm pretty sure that redirects to our site, Free Weekly Mastermind, but if you go to Making Money with Pinterest, the product is there. The interesting thing about our products is that we create something on the front end, and in this case, it's the screen capture video that shows you, exactly how you use Pinterest, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it, how to actually harness what it does for your business. But the real value, I think, is not in that, because that's the great primer. I mean, that really helps you, create this foundation from which you can start marketing with Pinterest. But the real value ends up coming in after, in the emails, because that's when, I'm finding articles that other people write, finding analyses, I'm finding, Pinterest sites, I'm interviewing some of the top pinners. So, over the course of, 6 or 7 months, I can find stuff that are really going to help your business that you just can't do in one video. A video is great. It really helps you figure stuff out, but it's, continuous education, continuous reinforcement of the way things are, way people are doing things. And, even finding like Anya Kay, who is one of the power pinners, and Budget Savvy Diva, who's one of the power pinners. It's the analysis of what they're doing, which I couldn't have done back, with the video. Their stuff's getting better and better. So the product really is the video plus this continuous education of, how you should be adapting to use Pinterest, including,
That's excellent.
Including what we're doing today.
I mean, evolving process, and especially with the social media platforms. I mean, just this morning when we set up, I realized that Google had made another change and had to reinstall the toolbox and so forth. So we can't sit there and think that nothing is going to change in the world, especially as it relates to social media. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
So your product, is it like an ebook and then a login to a members area where there's a continuous learning process, or?
This particular one is not an ebook. It's just a screen capture video. It's about 35 minutes, and I go through everything that you should know about Pinterest. And then after that, it's almost like an e-course. It comes to you in your email. So it's not even a membership site. It's really low. It's really low intense. I mean, you don't have to change the way you live in order to take advantage of the product. You don't have to start logging into a membership site that you were never a member of before. It's just, here's the product. At least watch the video and then start paying attention to the stuff I'm going to be sending you, because the world doesn't change. And the great thing about change is that it forces you to continually look at the way you're doing things. If you just, set it and move on, it's hard to even audit yourself, because you just don't pay attention. So the email after, you could call it an e-course, as far as I'm concerned. But really it is, hey, this is what's happening today. See how this person in the automotive niche is using Pinterest, because it's really going to make you rethink the way you're using it in yours. And who could have thought that like an oil change place could use it effectively? So I mean, that kind of stuff, when you break out of your own world, is when you actually learn.
Dan, you have so many things that you said that are like quotable. I mean, there was like 5 of them there that I wanted to write down and let's tweet this. That is wonderful. I mean, the part about the change and reevaluating what you're doing as far as marketing, that's so true. Because we can't just, set it and leave it for the next 10 years. We really have to reevaluate it. That's excellent.
Yeah, you definitely do. In fact, if you're even if on YouTube, if you're not paying attention, you probably do not know that you can actually put a link in the video, like in the screen that goes to your website. If you're not paying attention and you're not involved in, following what you're doing, you're missing stuff that is really evolving to make your world better.
Exactly.
So change is good.
Definitely. Now, speaking of change, and back on the Pinterest, with the recent changes, it's made, like I used to love to tweet the pins, and that has changed with the new updates. And I realize that not everybody has switched over as of this moment, but I imagine that eventually that will be kind of mandatory. You had some great ideas that you shared yesterday, and I wonder if you could share it with the audience as far as innovative ways to even use the new Pinterest.
Sure. So, for some reason, Pinterest has decided that their market is the end user. And that makes sense because it really is. It's the people who are buying the products. But most other online ventures, Facebook and Google and Twitter, they realize to some degree that their market is also the marketers. People are actually using the tool. And I think that Pinterest has a severe lack of attention to what we're doing and how we're using it. So for something like the elimination of the button that says, not only am I going to pin this, but I would like this to automatically show up on Twitter. That's just like them saying we don't really see the value in the marketers actually, exploding Pinterest by pinning it and then sharing it on Twitter and sharing it on Facebook. So for us, that's really powerful because if it's our own pins, our own things, or it's in our niche, we would like not only our Pinterest people to know it, but we would also like, our Twitter fans to be able to see it, at least to be in front of them. So the bad part is that automation is gone. And I haven't checked yet, and it's possible that if you go to ifttt.com, which is if this, then that. I always get that mixed up. It is IFTTT. It's possible that there is an automation tool, but I don't know it. So the good thing about the reduction of the automation, well, the bad thing is you lose your leverage. You lose your ability to repurpose one activity and it show up on another place. But if you want to continue at that activity, it actually makes you a better marketer because now you have to go to Pinterest and you have to tweet it. And you're not going to tweet it probably the same way that you automatically tweeted it from Pinterest. Like you're probably going to add some language to the tweet to actually get people to go click it. Whereas before, the tweet was the description of the tag. So I think that you could get better, but it does require an extra step now. And if you think about it this way, if you totally forget that Pinterest used to offer this, then, this is just an opportunity for you to actually be more personal with your audience instead of thinking, I wish it was the way it were, because it's never coming back. So you might as well just adapt the way it is. So another one of the things that has changed that I think is bad for us is they've taken away the hashtags. Hashtags on Twitter and on Instagram are huge. They enable you to talk to a community of people at one time or reach a community just by putting what is considered a hashtag in your description or in your tweet. And hashtag really is just an organization system online. And I'm not sure if Twitter started it, but somebody started it. And in case you don't know, the way to do a hashtag is to type the £, the British £, or the number sign, whatever you call that thing. Now they call it a hashtag for some reason. And then you follow that by a word without a space. And since there is no English word that starts with a £, it's an easy way for a computer system to identify it as an organization tool and make it clickable. So on Twitter, a hashtag is clickable. So if you do a hashtag chocolate and your £, chocolate, and you click it, you're going to go see every other tweet out there where somebody wrote about chocolate and use that particular hashtag. So you can kind of be within a community. And it's part of the fun part about the internet is, affinity groups are what are coming together. And the ability to interact with people just based on your affinity for the same thing, that's what makes the internet great. So for some reason, Pinterest took that away. So now if you do a hashtag or a £, and you write the word after it, your conference name or your niche word or whatever it is, for some reason, Pinterest decided that's not going to be clickable anymore, which means you can't click it and find every other pin on Pinterest that has that same hashtag. Why that's the case, I do not know. I don't understand the real goal in that, and I don't really understand what harm it caused or why they would go to the actual expense to remove it, because somebody had to take the programming away and they had to spend time doing something where they could have spent time making money. but they spend time.
I was just thinking that.
So I don't know why they took it away, and it's sad. And there's really no way to get around it because it was just an organization tool. So now we just don't have that, and you have to rely on Pinterest search, which is probably the worst search button on the internet as far as the big social sites. It just doesn't work very well.
You brought out a good point, though. I was just thinking that, it's one thing if you have a brand new social site and they haven't implemented the linking to the hashtag, but once you have it, you're right, you're paying money to remove it. And I guess Pinterest, we're a little bit confused on why you would do that. But the last I checked, it was still I think it was like phased out, or I switched back to the old Pinterest. So that's probably why my hashtags are still working temporarily. But
yes.
What about the option of putting it in quotes? I know it's really cumbersome, but putting it in quotes in Google and then putting the site :pinterest.com to find it. But then again, how many people are going to stop and do that?
Yeah, I mean, Boolean search terms like that are great. I mean, I love all kinds of Boolean search terms, but the problem is our goal is to get in front of an end user, and most end users don't use sophisticated search terms to find stuff. So it becomes more difficult for us to be found and easier, which is, the opposite of what we want.
I think the only way that might work is if somebody wanted to do the Google search and then actually embed that link on their blog. For example, I was going to mention her in a moment, but DaVinci and I have the Social Cafe and TBW Twitter chat. So if we wanted to embed that so that people could see all the pins that have that hashtag, but I imagine people are just going to stop or use the hashtags less with the changes. What do you think?
Yeah, they'll definitely use them less because they're not useful. I mean, there's no reason to add real estate. I mean, to add that kind of a thing in a very small space when you really don't have much area to convince someone to click. But even more importantly, with something like a widget where it pulls things in, because it's kind of not searchable now. You'd have to program a widget in order to find that particular hashtag through Pinterest. Before, the API would obviously just recognize it because they're clickable, but now it's just odd. And I wonder if it will come back actually, but we'll see.
Enough demand where people keep talking about it, or.
And I haven't even seen that many people clamor for it yet. But part of that problem is we are the ones who are clamoring for it and not the end user. I mean, the person who's just on Pinterest because it's fun, they might see a lack of hashtags, but it doesn't make their life worse. They'll just use the search button or just continue to search the main popular page. Just scroll down and look at pins. So we would have to really put up a stink if we were going to try to force them to bring it back. But I would rather spend time working on things we can actually make money from.
Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, you had a suggestion yesterday when we were chatting as far as the board cover. You said that somebody had come up with an innovative use for a pin as a board cover.
Oh, yeah. So why can't I think of her name now? Tabitha Fillon, I think it's a PH is her last name. She wrote a book called Pinteresting, which she's a deal blogger, a coupon blogger. She's in that world, and so she deals with Pinterest a lot. She uses it for posting recipes and deals, and decided. And I'm not sure how she came to this conclusion, but on her actual Pinterest, I guess you would call it your profile page, where it shows all your boards, she decided to actually create pins that were board covers. So if you have a pin, if you have a board about cool cars or Ferraris, instead of allowing Pinterest to label your board Ferraris, which they still will do, she actually makes a pin called Ferraris. She probably has a picture of a Ferrari with a neat, word Ferrari board on the bottom of it. And if you click it, it actually takes you to the board. But she uses the pin as the board cover on her site. So her entire board, when you go to her page, every single image is a cover, like a custom-made cover for that board. And it really looks more professional than just letting it go the way it is, default. The default is it just has the name above the picture, and you choose an image that you think describes your board the best, and it's whatever it is. She's actually gone a step further and been a little bit more proactive and is creating an image for that board cover. which I thought was a really good idea. Anything that you do on purpose is pretty much a good idea as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes they don't work, which is fine, but at least you were doing something on purpose, which I'm always a fan of.
That makes sense. And if you don't try it, you won't know if it works or it doesn't work, but rather than just letting life go by automated.
And she looks professional doing it, which I think is fantastic. So another, and I'm not sure if I would call that a workaround, because it's kind of a workaround. It's kind of like, here's how I'm getting around Pinterest's default profile page, which I think is great. You know what I also saw? I also saw somebody's board. They actually had like a wave that went across the top. So each image of their board was a different part of the wave, and then it just had the name of the board on the wave. So it looked really integrated, and it was brandable because it was their colors, and the wave was part of their logo. It looked pretty cool. I want to say it was U-Haul, but maybe it was somebody like Enterprise. But anyway, another workaround from one of their changes is, for some reason, Pinterest is also, even though they're a huge social network, and the one thing that vaulted them above Dig and StumbleUpon, which is all they are, they're a bookmarking site, just like every other bookmarking site out there. But the one thing that vaulted them above it is the user interface, and that was the way they laid the pins out and the fact that you could comment on them and talk back and forth with your friends and followers and fans. So even though that's what vaulted them to stardom, on this most recent change, they took away the comments feature. Now, I know you're saying that you can still comment, and you can, but the fact is that the word comment does not show up when you hover on the pin. It's no longer intuitive that you can comment, and the comments are invisible until you click on the pin itself. So for some reason, they took what got them to the top of the mountain and they got rid of it. It's still there in the background, but it's just not as front and center. And the interesting thing about that is it is a social network. I mean, it's the reason to connect and talk about things that you like. So the idea that it's gone, I think, is troublesome for us as marketers because we really want conversation around our activity. Mm-hmm. So one thing that you can do when you're writing your blog post, you're trying to create a pinnable image on your blog post, is to create a second image for your blog post that you don't put on your blog post. And the second image actually has, perhaps in the bottom corner, it has the words, click to comment. So you're actually, asking, click this and then comment on it. Like getting around the fact that it's not intuitive anymore and re-educating the audience that if you just click on it, you get to the part where it's a social network. So I've started to see a few of those, not as many as I would like to see, but I definitely think it's a good plan going forward is to, like I said, do something on purpose. If you want people to comment, just create a pin and ask them to comment.
So almost it's like a clickable link that takes them to the commenting on the image that shows above that in their blog post.
Yeah. Wow, I don't know if other people know this. In making money with Pinterest, we make it quite clear, but you can actually load up an image to Pinterest and then edit it so that the link goes wherever you want it to go. So if you have one blog post with one picture, you are not confined to only one pin. You could have 50 pictures. You could load them all up, and you could edit it so that they all go back to that one blog post. And you could see which one wins. You could decide which one gets pinned more often. And then, if you're really doing something good, you'll take the one that won, the one that gets the most repins and gets some traction, and you replace that with the one that you currently have on the blog post, so that people who arrive at the blog post organically are seeing the pin that was, the most popular, the one most likely to be repinned. Anyway.
Very creative. That's like A/B testing, except it's like A to Z testing, or however many images you have. That is, I have done the edit description and edit and create my own pinnable links to make it easy for people. But that's a great idea to actually do multiples.
Well, one of the problems with Pinterest, and it's not a problem, but you have to recognize that it is a synchronous media like Twitter and like radio, in that if you're not on Pinterest right now when I pin something, I've really got about 15 minutes before it leaves the main feed, and then it's gone forever, unless for some reason people are going to my board to look at my board's pins. So it is a synchronous media. just like radio. If there's a guy on the radio right now talking about dental implants, and you open your car door in 3 minutes, you're never going to hear it ever. It's gone. So if you get to the point where you can actually create 50 images for a blog post, because that's one of your main money sources, then you can schedule those out with your assistant, with your team, with Pingraphy, with some service, so that you take advantage of the fact that it is synchronous, and tomorrow you're getting your blog post in front of people again, and then tomorrow at 9 p.m. and then next Wednesday, and then next Thursday. It's not like a pin it and drop it thing. I mean, it's just like radio. The dentist is not on there one time. He's on there at drive time. He's on there in the evening. He's on there at late night. I mean, he knows if you're not there, you're not seeing it. So just like Twitter, you got to think that way about Pinterest, or you're just pinning for nothing.
That is brilliant. All these tips that you're saying, it's making me very hungry for more information. And all of you watching, there you have it. Dan Morris is full of great ideas, and not just Pinterest. And we actually met because we have someone in common. I referenced her a little bit earlier.
Yes.
But DaVinci highly recommends you. And DaVinci is the founder of theblogworkshop.com. And she mentioned that you and I will be, I think it's the first session, the Back to the Basics blog session that we will be sharing as first panelists. So I was really excited to meet you before we meet at the blog workshop. Could you tell us a little bit about what you'll be sharing at the blog workshop? So
DaVinci's, I don't meet too many people with one name. So, like I haven't met Madonna yet, but but I have met DaVinci. I don't even know if she has a last name, but just the idea that she just goes by DaVinci makes me happy.
The allure.
I love to have one name, like The Rock, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, at the blog workshop, which is coming up pretty soon, and I think it's theblogworkshop.com, I will be speaking about search engine optimization in the first session, and then I believe on the Sunday of that workshop, I will be talking a little bit more about affiliate marketing and how to make that work for you. Because some people think that affiliate marketing is something that it isn't. That statement makes no sense. So
actually, it made sense, and it keeps people wanting. So they're
some people think that if you're an affiliate marketer, you are hawking like kiddie pools, for Amazon.com, like 24/7. You're the kiddie pool guy, and you're just writing reviews, and like that's all you're doing is like kiddie pools. But really, an affiliate is a relationship that you have with another business, and it's pretty much akin to a commission agreement, where if you provide services and they reap financial reward, you get a percentage of that reward. So you can use affiliate marketing no matter what you're doing online. Affiliate marketing can be part of your monetization strategy, and really ought to be part of your monetization strategy, because there are products that your audience needs in order to get where they're going. Everyone is going somewhere. Even somebody who just learned about quilting may someday be an expert quilter, and at some time they're going to need a loom or whatever that thing is that you do when you're quilting. So you need to be aware of what products, what services your audience needs on what I call the ladder of value, from the time that they've decided they're taking the journey to learning stuff to the time that they're an expert. And you can teach them all the stuff that they need, but you can also get paid by some of the people who are providing these products and services for your help when you're marketing it to them. So fully take advantage of whatever affiliate marketing opportunities you can, and come to the blog workshop, because we'll definitely be talking more in depth about how that works.
Excellent. And Dan, will you be joining DaVinci and I on our first hangout in May on the Pinterest topic?
On Pinterest, I believe I could. I think that I'm speaking in June on SEO, but I would definitely like to hang out for a Pinterest topic. That'd be great.
Excellent. And that will be on, I actually had to look, on May 7th at our 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we do our Twitter chat from 9 to 10, and then the hangout from 9:30 to 10. So excellent. Simultaneously talking about Pinterest.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And there's a lot more to it than what we've talked about. So
definitely. Well, leave them a little bit hungry. We got to say, guys, come on, you got to come back and ask Dan questions on the Social Cafe TBW Hangout and Twitter chat on the 7th. Any other tips before we end our interview?
Tips. I mean, this is what I do for a living. I could do tips for another 5 days. So what would be like a really good one? So let's keep going with the hashtag idea. Here's the last tip for you. So I have a product called the Marketing Calendar Blueprint. And the idea is that you always want to be in front of your audience, no matter what time of the year it is. So speaking specifically of hashtags, I would encourage you to search high and low for every event, activity, symposium, conference, convention, anything that has to do with what your profession is. Find the Facebook page, find the Twitter page, and find what hashtag they're using. Put it on your calendar, and a month before and a month after, start using that hashtag in your tweets and on Instagram. And start staying in front of that crowd all year long. For everything that you do, always be in front of the people who will make you money. So learn to use hashtags to your benefit.
Brilliant. And there you have it, guys. We've only barely scratched the surface. And you can reach Dan Morris at lettersfromdan.com.
Yes.
And contact him for more brilliant ideas and tips for your business. Thank you, Dan, for joining us in the Social Web Cafe.
Good times.
Excellent. See you later.
All right. See you.